Well, well, well. If it isn't my old students, good to see everybody. This is Mr. Surface, and let's get started. Unit 2, Act 1, Scenes 2 and 3, Lattice Scavenger Hunt. I'm going to ask you to begin by, of course, going to the lattice page and filling in the definition you see in red here. You should recognize this, but now let's more play specific. The audience knows all, but Mr. Frank are doomed, but the characters do not, right? We know that every character but Mr. Frank is going to die, but the characters do not, including Mr. Frank, because they went on a flashback back in time. Okay, so let's take a moment and look at some examples of dramatic irony from other works of art. Okay, we're going to start with a little example. Ooh.
Yet, within your depths I see one who dares to rival me. Brew the magical recipe. I'll call it.
I wonder what that was.
Dip the apple in the brew. Let the
Look at all that poison.
seep through.
Oh boy.
Look on the skin.
Even the bird ain't feeling that apple.
Of what lies within. Now turn red.
Ooh,
Snow White.
that looks pretty good.
Have a bite.
Yikes. Right, so then she goes out into the woods. We now know something. The witch knows something, but she don't. Oh. You gotta say, she's a little foolish for letting her in the house.
All alone, my pet? Yes, I am. The little men are not here. No, they're not. Making pies. Yes, gooseberry pies. It's apple pies that make the men folks' mouths water. Pies made from apples like these. Oh, they do look delicious. Yes, but wait till you taste one, dearie. Like to try one?
So these birds are sort of our audience surrogate here, right? So, what are a few things that are involved here? Well, we've got some specialized knowledge, right? Knowledge. Who knows what? We, the audience, know something. And in that example, we saw vultures, right? Vultures are all about it. What do vultures have to do with death? So, when it comes to dramatic irony, there's usually some idea about fate. And finally, when we talk about fate, we can also use the word fatalism. Okay. So obviously your words aren't going to be that big, but they're that big right now, so you can see them from your desk. Let's do it up. Actually, a little bit more. Oop. Pardon me.
water, please.
See this? We're seeing her expressions. The animals are seeing her expressions,
Because you've been
but
so good to poor old Granny, I'll share a secret with you. This is no ordinary apple. It's a magic wishing apple. A wishing apple? Yes. One bite, and all your dreams will come true. Really? Yes, girl. Now, make a wish. And take a bite. There must be something your little heart desires. Perhaps there's someone you love. Well, there is someone. I thought so. I thought so. Old Granny knows a young girl's heart. Now take the apple, dear, and make a wish. I wish. I wish. That's it. Go on. And that he will carry me away to his castle, where we will live happily ever after. Fine, fine. Don't let the wish grow cold. Oh, I feel strange. Breath. We're still. Blood congealed.
oof, brutal, right? But we, the audience, know the music gives us, the audience, a clue, right? So all these things contribute to us having suspense, and our experience of the story is different than that of Snow White's, and is more aligned in this case with the evil witch. All right, so let's take a moment and break down dramatic irony a little bit more. Oop, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, so there's a little thing. Let me write. Okay. An important stylistic device that is commonly found in plays, movies, theaters, and sometimes in poetry. We just happen to be looking at a play. Storytellers use this version of irony as a useful plot device for creating situations in which the audience knows more about the situations. Well, we really don't need all that. Plot device for creating situations, though, that to me is a genuinely useful phrase. So, for instance, the audience knows that a character is going to be murdered, right? In this case, it's Anne Frank, or will make a decision to commit suicide. However, one particular character, others may not be aware of this fact. We have all the characters everywhere in the play not being aware of the facts. Hence, the words and actions of characters would suggest a different meaning to the audience for what they indicate to the characters of the story. Thus, dramatic irony creates intense suspense and humor. This device also emphasizes, embellishes, and conveys emotions and moods more effectively. So, part of our thinking about this play means okay, Anne Frank, who we're getting to know, is very much already an emotional person. And sometimes she's going to be at odds or having conflict with others. But dramatic irony will allow us to sort of connect with her in a way that's different than the other characters. So, the function, right? If you don't know what function is, come on, you think? Oh, it's being goofy. Hold on, there we are. All right. Function. It's not working. So many of the writers use dramatic irony as an effective tool to sustain and excite the reader's interest. Since the form of, all right, reader's interest seems like a useful phrase. Since this form of irony creates a contrast between the situation of characters and the episodes that unfold, it generates curiosity, suspense, you could call it, by allowing the audience to know important facts ahead of the leading characters. One important fact in Anne Frank is that they're all going to die, except for Mr. Frank. Puts the audience and the readers above the characters and also encourages them to anticipate, hope, and fear the moment when a character would learn the truth behind events and situations of the story. This fear the moment. That's worth writing. And I think that's also worth a few exclamation points. More often, this irony occurs in tragedies as opposed to comedies, where readers are led to sympathize with the leading characters. They get our sympathy. It emphasizes the fatality of incomplete understandings on honest, or for which she is, and innocent people, and demonstrates the painful consequences of misunderstandings. Ooh, painful consequences. Great phrase for us to keep in mind. All right. So let's take a look at another example. This one, a little more humorous, doesn't involve death as much, but it is Steven Universe. And what happens in this episode of Steven Universe is Peridot used to be bad, now she's good, and she. Recording? Ah.